The National Agricultural Field Days celebrated 45 years this week, and many farmers are celebrating another good year for business as well. The Ministry of Primary Industries' annual report, it was released this week, forecasts that agricultural earnings will grow by around 7% every year over the next 4 years. So a lot of opportunities for our major export industry. But there are a few challenges as well. Minister for Primary Industries, Nathan Guy, joins us now from Wellington. Good morning, Minister. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Morning, Rachel. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. You published the outlook for primary industries this week. Looks pretty rosy. Where do you anticipate growth?
Yes, I've been at the field days for most of this week, and quite a bit of positiveness around the biggest event of this kind in the Southern Hemisphere. And this situation outlook that we presented this week is forecasting the growth around 7%. Most of that will come off the back of dairying. Also beef and sheep meat has some opportunity, as does forestry, horticulture and fisheries as well.
So if you forecast an increase in production, presumably you'll need more land as well. Where do you see more land being available?
Well, there's opportunities, of course, with irrigation, and the government is promoting regional water storage projects up and down the country. The Minister for the Environment just called one in this week to a board of inquiry. That's Ruataniwha in the Hawke's Bay. We know there's about 400,000 hectares of land available that isn't under irrigation, and of course that offers huge opportunities with lifting the overall production, but it's also good for the environment as well.
Well, irrigation will also mean intensification though, won't it?
Well, what regional water storage projects mean, Rachel, is that you can store the water through the winter months and utilise it in the summer. We only collect about 2% of the annual rainfall that falls in this country a year. Most of it just ends up in the rivers roaring out to sea. So if we can think smarter and capture that water through the winter months, utilise it during the summer months, then that's good for regional economies. It's also good for the environment. And the reason it's good for the environment is that you can maintain summer flows through river channels. That's good for all the aquatic and marine and bird life, etc. And it's also good for recreation. I
think there'll be a lot of viewers probably yelling at the telly right now saying it's not good for the environment. They'll particularly point the finger at dairy and intensification and say that's not a good option at all. What do you say to those who criticise, for example, the Ruataniwha Dam in Hawke's Bay?
Well, I would say to those that they need to look at the big picture, because there's a lot of job creation as a result of this. My intelligence tells me there's quite a bit of support for this project. Yes, there'll always be people that are opposed to regional water storage projects, and we see that whether it's mining or other examples as well with roading. But the important thing, a board of inquiry is independent. It's a process where people can have their say. That board can put conditions on it. They need to weigh up all of the environmental things as well. So
okay.
It's a very transparent process.
So presumably you're saying the dam and irrigation schemes like it are vitally important to achieve the growth that you're talking about. Are there other dams in the pipeline?
Oh, there are other potentials up and down the country. Quite a bit in Canterbury. Others proposed in the Wairarapa, Nelson as well. They're all at varying levels. We have committed as a government 400 million to help kickstart these projects, 800 million in this year's budget. As the government, we've set up a Crown-controlled company that will make the decisions. And the government's view is we want to be in early, out early, get these projects up and going, and then step out. And I think what we'll find is that other investors will come in behind us, because ultimately it's very good for regional economies and good for the whole value supply chain as well.
Where would you see the potential for a dam in Canterbury?
Oh, there are dam options at the moment. There are also options to come off rivers as well, because ultimately if you can move away from groundwater sourced irrigation, that takes the pressure off aquifers, which is a good thing as well. So these projects have a lot of benefits.
Okay, so it's all very well if we're, increasing production, but we're also having issues with food safety, it seems, at the moment too. And I want to draw your attention to a story in the Weekend Herald this morning that's running. Christopher Adams wrote it about New Zealand baby food, which is being smuggled into China. New Zealand supermarkets, it seems, are supplying formula legally into Hong Kong. It's then being smuggled across the border. Did you know that this was going on?
I've heard all sorts of different stories about this particular situation. We've got about 70 registered manufacturers dealing in infant formula here in New Zealand. We're doing some work now, working closely with Chinese officials to ensure that we've got the brands registered as well. It's fair to say that the growth in China has caught everyone by surprise, not just necessarily in infant formula, but also in meat and dairy, and logs and seafood as well.
Nonetheless, it seems that although Progressive and Foodstuffs have acted legally, they've got around this by they can't sell from their retail arms, they can sell from their wholesalers to Hong Kong legitimately. But the issue is that some of the brands that they're selling can't actually be legally sold in China. And I think I read somewhere more than 800 people have been pulled aside for smuggling this into China. That's a real issue, isn't it? I mean, food safety in China is so important, and we saw that recently, didn't we, with our meat all stopped at the ports.
Yes, well, the important point here, Rachel, is that we have the best food safety system in the whole of the world. We are trusted, we have integrity in the marketplace, we export to around 200 countries all around the world. They trust us because of our world-class food safety systems, and that's also underpinned by a world-class biosecurity system. So from time to time there are issues in the marketplace. This is an issue that looks like is being dealt with China and Hong Kong. As I say before, we're focused right now on ensuring that our brands are registered.
Can you do anything about it other than that?
Well, we've got a piece of work underway led by Minister Kay, the Minister for Food Safety. I'm engaged with that. It's across the whole of government. This is a very important market to New Zealand. We're treating this very, very seriously. And at the end of the day, Rachel, we have a fantastic brand. We have the best food safety systems in the whole of the world. The China meat example wasn't an issue to do with food safety. That was an issue to do with an error in documentation that we used.
Nonetheless, we did speak to an Auckland academic on this program, an expert on China, who said that China's new premier has made food safety his key issue, and that the stories that have been running on Chinese state TV were at his request. So anything that threatens food safety, in theory, threatens him politically. Is this actually far more serious than what we're taking it at the moment?
Well, we're taking this issue very seriously, and we're focused in working closely with Chinese officials, particularly on the brand exercise that we're doing now. I mentioned before we've got 70 registered manufacturers. We're now working on supplying through the brands necessary that we need to fulfil the requirements with China, and our exporters are supporting that because they know it's really important. From time to time there are counterfeit things that happen in the Chinese market, and I think what you're hearing from the Premier is they just want to have some greater reassurance to their consumers, and we're up for that because we back our products into the market.
I think it's more than greater reassurance, it seems, with respect, Minister. You did mention that before that New Zealand had been caught a little bit on the hop, a bit surprised about the level of growth and demand in China. Is that admission that our systems weren't quite up to speed, and that's why we saw what happened on the ports, and that's why we're seeing these issues, that China's getting frustrated with us over food safety?
No, China's not getting frustrated with us on food safety. I don't agree with you there, Rachel. The meat issue was to do with a documentation issue, nothing to do with food safety. That was an issue where we used the wrong certified form. It wasn't approved by AQSIQ, and as a result of that, we've reached agreement. That product's flowed off the wharf. We've got an interim arrangement where product is now, trade has resumed. Chinese officials are coming down to New Zealand to do a wider inspection of our plant and cold stores so that we can get a wider certification process underway, and that's good news for the meat industry.
Do you think up until now perhaps the government hasn't quite taken this issue seriously with China, just how important it is to them?
Well, this is a very important market to us, Rachel. In the last 5 years, it's trebled. It was $2 billion, now it's worth around $7 billion. It's, in the first quarter of this year, it was bigger than Australia. This is an important market to us, as are many other markets around the world, and we export to 200. So we're working very closely with Chinese officials on their requests, and we're supplying that information on the brands up to them this week, and we've got some other work happening in this space.
Sometimes it does seem a little unclear how seriously this government does take agriculture, and I read an editorial in the ODT this week which said if the government did take agriculture seriously, it wouldn't have you, the Minister, down at number 16 in the Cabinet. What do you make of that?
Oh, I don't get worried about that at all. For anyone that's been in Cabinet, there are 20 seats around the Cabinet table. Everyone has their own chance to have their points of view raised and they're heard, and I don't get at all concerned about what number I am, because at the end of the day it's a very open process in Cabinet and in the Cabinet committees, and I have a very good working relationship with my Cabinet colleagues, and I get a fair airing whenever I need to raise any issues. So I'm completely relaxed.
All right, Nathan Guy, Minister for Primary Industries, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.